On the battlefield, a bullet doesn't pause to ask who fired it. It doesn't care if the finger on the trigger belongs to a man or a woman. The fight over whether women deserve equal footing in combat is still raging, and what happened when Congresswoman Chrissy Houlahan confronted Secretary Pete Hegseth might just be the clearest example yet of how outdated thinking still infects the highest levels of defense leadership. What started as a simple yes or no question turned into a fiery clash that exposed more than one man's hesitation. It revealed the cracks in an entire system that has been slow to accept change. And if you thought this was just another hearing, think again. Because the way this exchange unfolded said more about bias, tradition, and the future of America's military than any prepared testimony ever could.
Ms. Houlahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I've been looking forward very much to our time together. My name is Chrissy Houlahan. In addition to representing a part of Pennsylvania, the 6th District, I also am a veteran. I come from a family of veterans and service members, and it's very deeply personal to me, this conversation that we're having, as I know it is to you as well. Over the last several days, I've had the opportunity to watch a bit of the hearings that you have testified at this week, and I can see and know that you have quite a bit to say. But since I only have 5 minutes, I'm going to try and focus my time on a concept that you talk about very frequently, and that is lethality. By definition, lethality simply means being capable of causing death. Secretary Hegseth, I have a couple of clarifying questions that I'd like very much to get through. So in the interest of time and efficiency, I would ask just simply for a yes or no from you for the answers to these questions in advance, and I thank you. So given that definition of lethality, would it be fair to say that both men and women are, generally speaking, capable of causing death?
It depends.
Yes or no, sir?
Depends on the context.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Are men and women capable of causing death?
It depends on the context.
Yes or no?
It depends on the context.
It's unbelievable to me that you can't come up with an answer whether or not a man or a woman can cause death. That's an obvious yes. Would it be fair to say that the U.S. military trains our soldiers in multiple ways to be capable of causing death, whether they are men or women?
That's a big part of our job.
Yes. Would it be fair to say that both men and women are capable of pulling a trigger of a rifle to cause death? Yes or no?
Sure.
And would it be fair to say that both men and women are capable of operating an unmanned combat drone or maybe pushing a button to launch a missile to cause death again? Yes or no?
I know what you're getting at, ma'am.
Yes?
But it is,
So lastly,
men and women
sir,
carry equipment differently,
lastly,
a 155 round
lastly,
differently,
sir,
a rucksack differently,
reclaiming
a 240
my
Bravo
time,
machine gun
I asked
differently.
about missiles
There are
and drones,
different-
sir.
It is the gentlelady's
Reclaiming my
time.
time.
men and
Reclaiming
women.
my
Just
time,
pause.
sir.
It is the gentlelady's time.
Would it be fair, finally, to say that both men and women are capable of piloting a jet or a helicopter to combat people and to cause death as a consequence?
A lot of wonderful female
Yes
pilots.
or no? So while I agree with you that physical fitness, as you were mentioning, is a very strong and important component of lethality, the warfighter that you have written about in your books and talked about on various podcasts is but a very, very small piece of the overall lethality picture. In fact, we estimate only about 10% of our military personnel are directly involved in the kind of combat that you're referring to. Rather, 90%, that's the math, of our troops are doing other jobs that support and enable those 10%. So to put it simply, lethality cannot be measured solely by the damage that a 6'3", 225-pound Christian male with a rifle can do to the enemy anymore. Sure, I agree he's part of that solution, but it is an incomplete and at best very dangerous and very homogeneous description of that. Lethality is equal parts technical skills, tactical experience, cognitive problem solving, and physical fitness. It's not about one person, but it's about many. It's not about blue or red. It's not about liberal or conservative, Christian, Jewish, or agnostic. It's not about North and South. Here are some statements that you have said previously about women in service. This is 2024, sir, not when you were a 19-year-old. You have said that women are life givers, that dads push us to take risks, and that moms put the training wheels on our bikes, that we need moms, but not in the military. Secondly, you have said, I am straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, and it hasn't made us more lethal. With what's left of my time, sir, I will say to you that women have served our country for 200 plus years in our militaries and in service and protection of our nation. They are watching you, what you do and what you say, and we deserve better from you. Women can and do serve with lethality today. We can and do all of the jobs that are required of us. Yes or no, do you believe military women should be in all roles in the military?
Women have joined
Yes
our
or
military
no, sir?
in record numbers
Should
under this
women be
administration.
in all roles in the military?
Standards should be high and equal for
Yes
all
or
positions.
no, sir? We agree. Should they
Standards-
be in all roles in the
So
military?
my job is that
yes
10%
or no?
stays as sharp as
Reclaiming my
possible.
time.
Standards should be high and equal.
Reclaiming my time. Will you agree that that women should be able to perform in all combat roles, assuming they meet the standards?
Gentlelady's time's expired.
It's all about standards.
Before we move to
Disappointing.
Chrissy Houlahan came into that hearing with the calm but firm presence of someone who has worn the uniform herself. She wasn't there to posture, she wasn't there to score cheap political points, she was there to hold the line for every woman who has ever raised her hand to serve. She introduced herself not just as a congresswoman but as a veteran, as someone from a family of service members, and as someone who has lived the realities of the military. That credibility mattered. She wasn't theorizing about the subject, she was speaking from a place of lived experience. And when she looked across the table at Hegseth, she had one goal: to strip away the excuses and get to the core truth about lethality. By definition, lethality means the capacity to cause death. Simple, straightforward, undeniable. But when Houlahan asked if both men and women were capable of causing death, Hegseth stumbled into a bizarre fog of evasions. It depends on the context, he kept repeating, as though the answer to whether a woman can pull a trigger or launch a missile required nuance. For Houlahan, this was more than frustrating, it was insulting. She wasn't asking about abstract hypotheticals, she was asking about basic reality, and his refusal to acknowledge that reality revealed just how far some leaders are willing to bend to preserve a double standard. Think about that moment. A veteran congresswoman asks a direct yes or no question: can women cause death in combat? Can they operate weapons, drones, missiles the same way men do? Instead of answering plainly, Hegseth deflected with context as though bullets require gender clarification before they kill. It was the kind of dodge that exposes more than it conceals, and it set the stage for what quickly became one of the fieriest exchanges of the week. Houlahan pressed harder, moving through each example with surgical precision. Could a woman pull a trigger? Of course. Could a woman pilot a drone, or launch a missile? Obviously. Could a woman fly a jet or helicopter in combat? Absolutely. Each question was clear, each one unambiguous. And every time, Hegseth tried to slip back into that same murky answer. It was a dance of denial, and it looked less like an argument about readiness and more like a desperate attempt to keep alive an outdated justification. But here's the thing, Houlahan wasn't just asking questions, she was dismantling myths. She knew exactly where the conversation would go. Those defenders of the status quo would trot out the tired argument about physical strength, about how men and women carry heavy gear differently. And when Hegseth tried to retreat to that point, she cut him off. Reclaiming my time, she snapped, refusing to let him derail the discussion with irrelevant points about rucksacks and load-bearing. Because the truth is, lethality in modern warfare isn't measured by who can hump the heaviest pack, it's measured by who can fight, think, adapt, and win. That's where Houlahan pivoted. She reframed the entire discussion, pointing out that only about 10% of the military actually serves in direct combat roles. The other 90% support, supply, and enable those frontline fighters. That means lethality isn't confined to the image of a 6'3", 225-pound rifleman charging across a battlefield. It's also in the intelligence analyst who cracks an enemy network, the drone pilot who eliminates a target from thousands of miles away, the cyber operator who disables enemy infrastructure before a single bullet flies. Lethality is as much cognitive and technical as it is physical. War has changed, and so has the definition of a lethal soldier, and this was where the real contrast became undeniable. Hegseth clung to a narrow, muscle-bound view of readiness, an idea rooted in the wars of the past. Houlahan championed a broader modern view, one that recognizes brain, skill and strategy as equal, if not greater, measures of lethality than sheer brawn. Her argument wasn't that physical fitness doesn't matter, it absolutely does. But it's not the sole measure of effectiveness. The battlefield has evolved, and pretending otherwise is not tradition, it's negligence. Then came the receipts. Houlahan didn't just rely on today's exchange, she went back to Hegseth's own words, citing his past statements about women in the military. He had said that women are life givers, not warfighters. He had claimed that moms put training wheels on bikes and therefore don't belong in combat. He had insisted, point blank, that women in combat roles haven't made the military more effective. Each quote landed like a blow. This wasn't about context anymore, it was about a pattern of bias that went back years. Imagine sitting in that chair while your own words are read back to you, words that reduce women to stereotypes, words that dismiss decades of service and sacrifice. That was the trap Houlahan laid bare. She showed the audience, and the nation, that this wasn't just an evasive answer to a hearing question, it was the continuation of a worldview that has resisted progress for generations. And it's a worldview that women who have already proven their worth in uniform are tired of hearing. Because the truth is undeniable, women have served in the U.S. military for over 200 years. They have fought, they have bled, and they have died for this country. They have flown combat missions, commanded troops, and led operations that saved lives and won victories. They didn't need permission to prove their worth, they already have. The only people still questioning it are those clinging to a status quo that no longer matches reality. This is where the hearing became more than a policy debate. It became a reckoning. Houlahan wasn't asking for special treatment, she wasn't asking for the standards to be lowered. She was demanding fairness, that if a woman meets the same high rigorous standards as a man, she should have the same opportunity to serve in any role, period. That's not ideology, that's equality. And it's an equality rooted not in slogans, but in proven performance. Yet as the back and forth showed, the resistance isn't about standards at all, it's about power. It's about leaders who fear that acknowledging women's equal capability will upend a hierarchy they've long taken for granted. That's why the conversation always shifts away from the obvious yes women can fight, yes women can lead, and back toward vague abstract concerns about context or tradition. Because once you strip away the excuses, what's left is uncomfortable, the realization that the only barrier to full equality is bias, and that's why Houlahan's final words landed with such weight. She reminded the Secretary and the nation that women can and do serve with lethality today. They already occupy roles across the military, from infantry to aviation to intelligence. They already meet and exceed the standards set before them. The idea that this is still a question in 2025 isn't just frustrating, it's dangerous. Because clinging to outdated notions doesn't just harm women, it weakens the military as a whole. Think about it. Every time talent is excluded because of gender, the force loses strength. Every time a capable leader is sidelined because of bias, readiness suffers. Every time tradition is used as an excuse to block equality, the mission is compromised. And in a world where warfare is evolving at lightning speed, where cyber attacks, drone strikes, and information warfare are redefining the battlefield, can we really afford to sideline anyone who has the skill, courage, and determination to serve? That's the real story of this hearing. It wasn't just a clash between a congresswoman and a secretary, it was a snapshot of the broader struggle between progress and tradition, between reality and denial. On one side, a veteran congresswoman who has lived the military life and seen firsthand what women can accomplish. On the other, a leader who still clings to narratives that should have been left in the past. The contrast couldn't be clearer, and if you zoom out, this debate is bigger than one committee room. It's about the culture of the military, the standards we uphold, and the values we claim to defend. If equality is truly an American value, then it can't stop at the gates of combat. It has to be reflected in every rank, every role, every opportunity. Otherwise, it's just lip service. So when Houlahan pressed, when she demanded yes or no answers, when she refused to let evasions slide, she wasn't just speaking for herself. She was speaking for every woman who has had to fight twice, once against the enemy, and once against the bias within her own ranks. She was speaking for the future of a military that cannot afford to waste talent, no matter where it comes from. And she was making it clear that the time for excuses has run out. In the end, the hearing may have ended, but the conversation it sparked is far from over. The question isn't whether women can serve in all roles, they already do. The question is whether leaders have the courage to accept that truth without clinging to caveats. And every time someone tries to dodge with context, it becomes clearer that the real fight isn't about readiness, it's about resistance to progress. And here's where you come in. What do you think? Should women face any restrictions if they meet the exact same high standards as men, or is it time to finally put this debate to rest once and for all? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we read every single one. And if you found this breakdown eye-opening, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring that notification bell, because the next video dives into an even more controversial showdown that you won't want to miss.